Indeed. Indeed. So grateful. We are so blessed. And so right here, I just invite us to bless this moment. As we just open up our hearts and say, yes, thank you, God, for this divine and glorious day. What a blessing it is. And fully and wholly knowing that there is just one, this one light, this one life, this one beautiful, joyous thing, and we call it many names. We call it good, we call it spirit, we call it love, we call it the universe, and right here, right now, I call it love. How good it is to know that love is leading the way and blessing each one of us. So we just bless our beautiful music ministry. We bless the message today and the messenger who gives it, Reverend Don. We bless each congregant that is here in the sanctuary, those that are watching online. We bless our youth ministry, ever expanding and growing, and we hold that vision. We bless all those who are here in person and those who are yet to arrive. And we just bless ourselves because today is the day that we again got to wake up to this beautiful thing that we know as love. So grateful. And together we affirm. And so it is. Oh, good morning, everybody. Oh. Well, everybody, here at the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living, we are an interfaith gathering, a spiritual community that honors all teachings and all spiritual teachers. And we are going to begin a ceremony that celebrates this oneness of life, which acknowledges all people and all faiths, that we come from this one universal presence, and we call it spirit. And we have this magnificent candlelighter today. Practitioner Tony is with us to light our candles. So let us begin. We begin with the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. Shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous people, the way of pristine spirituality. Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the last candle that we light today is the healing candle of love. We invite you, in the stillness of your own mind, to bring to awareness the names of anyone that you would like to be included in our healing candle of flame. And now that our flames of faith are fully lighted, we move forward into our celebration, realizing and reaffirming that all paths lead to God. And thank you, Practitioner Tony. All righty. It is the first Sunday of the month. Woohoo! How exciting is that? One of the practices that we do on the first Sunday of the month is the practice of really standing into our purpose, our vision, and our mission. And we always show it on the screen. You can see it at home. You can see it on the screen here. And one of the things that I like to say is they're not just words on a screen. They're actually things that we hold truth to. We hold in our heart, we hold in our minds. It's what we believe. And so I invite you to speak these words along with us and speak them through your mouth, but feel them in your heart. So we begin with our purpose, which is our reason for being. Together, we awaken and inspire love and oneness. Next, we have our vision. That's what we want to create or become. Together, we are empowered, uplifting, inclusive community. And our mission. How are we going to do this? Together, we teach spiritual transformation with grace and joy. Woohoo! I know everybody loves that grace and joy part. It's the fun thing. So today we have an inspirational quote. It's by our founder, Ernest Holmes. And it's from the book Spiritual Awareness on page 74, if anybody has that book and wants to look at it further. So let us listen. Oh. Every person represents an individualization of the universal wholeness, the love, peace, joy, and freedom of the spirit. Therefore, we have a divine right to rise above fear, impoverishment, and disease. We should have confidence that the power of the Spirit expresses through every atom of our being now, this very moment. I want to read that first sentence again because I really want to hear it and feel it one more time myself. And if I do, I know that you do, especially those of you watching online. Every person represents an individualization of the universal wholeness, love, peace, joy, and the freedom of spirit. I love working in my mind. Beautiful. Well, good and glorious morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. We are so delighted to have each and every one of you joining us today, those of you here in the sanctuary, as well as those of you joining us on our live stream. So welcome today. My name is Cindy Hensley. I am one of the many licensed practitioners here at the center. And one of our favorite things that we get to do and that we love to do is this thing called prayer. I would love it if my colleagues could rise today so that those of you in the sanctuary can see who they are. We have our very own Reverend Dawn, who is our messenger today. We have our candlelighter and also practitioner Tony Shannon. We have Cynthia George in the back. We have Judy standing in the doorway. We have Robert and Ann next door with our youth. And myself. And one of the ways in which we can support you in prayer is this thing called a 1-minute miracle. So after service today, if there is something heavy on your heart, or perhaps even something joyous on your heart, and you would like to know a little bit more about that joy, or you would like that heaviness just removed or potentially healed, we would be happy and joyful to pray with you. So just tap one of us on the shoulder. We are available for those of you here in the sanctuary today in person. Now, if you're online or if you're in the sanctuary and you're like, oh my gosh, it's Wednesday, I need a prayer. Guess what? You too can have a prayer. You just go on our website and fill out a prayer request form. And we will get that. It's almost immediately. Reverend Linda does this magic thing, and she just gets them into her inbox, and she sends them out to all of our practitioners. And we will, again, hold you in prayer throughout the week. And also, for those of you in the sanctuary, in the seat in front of you, there is a prayer request form. It's a little, I don't know, Tony, do you see a prayer request form? It's a little green piece of paper, and you can fill that out today, as many of them as you want, and there's a prayer box just on your way out the door to the right, and it says prayer box. Feel free to drop a prayer in that box. I'll check them after service, and I will email them out to all the practitioners. So again, if you didn't know, we like to pray. We're really good at it too, so thank you for that. Let's see. Oh, you know what? We also like to welcome people. We like to welcome new people. So if there is anybody new today in the sanctuary, we'll start with those of you here in the room. If you would be so bold as to raise your hand, we have presents, like gifts, like literally, like it's a gift for you. Is there anybody that's interested in receiving a gift? You just have to raise your hand. That would be happening. We're all looking in this general corner to see if anybody's going to raise. If you don't want to raise your hand and you're new here, that's okay. We can give you the gift on the way out. Don't you worry. We see you. We know that you are the gift. You are the gift. You're the blessing. So for those of you online, if you're joining us for the first time, what you could do is you can either type, if you're watching it right now on Facebook, you can type in the comment section just your name and just let us know where you're joining in from. And also, if you'd like to reach out to Reverend Don this week with your, that you're just saw us and you want to know more about us, just call the church and he'll give a call right back to you. So please avail yourself to us. We are here for you. All right, so we got new people. We've got announcements. I know this is the part of the service that you guys just cannot even wait for. It's your favorite spot. All right, gracious giving. So we have a committee that meets regularly. Well, we meet once a year and then we talk regularly, and we choose people in our community, our local community, to tithe to, which means to give part of our tithe out to a local nonprofit. So I'm just giving you guys the update on what we've done for the last few months. So in March, we gave to Keys to Life. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Keys to Life, Shirley Mae Staton, who is one of our divine congregants, does a program called Keys to Life, where she goes out to Highland Women's Prison and really works with them out there. And so we gave $415 to Shirley Mae and the Keys to Life Foundation. And that was in March. And in April, we gave to a new and upcoming organization called Fresh International. Now, we have a person who works with us here in the office, Jennifer, and Jennifer has a daughter, and her daughter has started this organization called Fresh International. And what it does is it provides washing of produce in the Mountain View area to this community gardens. So there's a community gardens that supports immigrants, and they can go and grow and then later sell on their own these beautiful fresh vegetables. But they need to be washed, right? And so this beautiful girl, Jennifer's daughter, whose name I just can't remember, but she's a beautiful daughter, and she started this organization called Fresh International, and we gave to them in April of $325. So I just wanted you to know that who we're giving to, and that the gifts keep on giving. And so if you feel like giving more to those organizations yourself, please do so. Speaking of more giving, if you have not, who shops at Fred Meyer's in this room? Anybody? Raise your hand. Fred Meyer's, okay. Well, you can continue giving to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living through their community reward system. And so you just enroll your shopper's card, and a portion of that goes to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. And last quarter, we got $45 for total donations. And let me just tell you, $45 is better than $0. It's awesome. It's free, and it doesn't affect your points on your gas or anything like that. You still get all your points. They're not going to Don. He is not getting your gas points. It's not happening that way. Okay? So also, other ways in which we can give. We have a PayPal account now. Who loves PayPal? I do. So all you need to do is just type in your name at the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living, and you can give that way through PayPal. Also, who knows what a QR code is? Look, it's on the screen. If you want to check it out, you can literally right now get your cell phone out. This is the only time I actually offer you to get your cell phone out. It's like you can get it out, point it at the screen right now. You can do it online too, right? I know you're watching this. I know you're getting your cell phones out. So get your cell phone out, point it at the screen, and then if you push the little yellow thing, it's going to go straight to our donation page at the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. I love technology. I love it. It's so exciting. All right, speaking of giving, we're going to be giving to ourselves in a great way. We're going to have a clean up day here at the center. But first, we're going to have a picnic. I forgot about the picnic. We've got to have the picnic, and then we can have the cleanup. We're going to have our picnic June 30th, and it's going to be at the Valley of the Moon right after service. That's June 30th. It's a Sunday. It's the last Sunday of the month. And I do believe the one and only Tony Shannon is in charge of that. Is that true? I have heard she's the one. So she's the picnic person in the room today. So if you want to be a part of the picnic, if you want to volunteer for the picnic, if you want to bring something to the picnic, see Tony right after service. And there's a sign-up sheet in the back. You too can sign up for what? The picnic. All right. And now we're going to be cleaning up. So picnic in July, picnic in June, cleanup in July. July 13th, we're going to have an all-center cleanup. So on that day, you're going to show up from 10 to noon. Get your gloves on, bring them on, and we're going to do a little house cleaning. It's a great opportunity. You know, it's like spring cleaning, but it's in the summer. We need to do spring cleaning at least quarterly, right? Like that's kind of how it works. So that's what I've got going on for you. So lots of things going on, lots of ways to give back. And we're having visioning on Wednesday. It's not on a slide, but for those of you in the room and those of you online, we do Visioning for Peace every Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month, which is this Wednesday. And there's going to be information about that in our weekly bulletin, which is online. And now it is time for the Minister's Moment.
Thank you, Cindy. Welcome to June. A lot going on here at the center and throughout the world in June. We have Juneteenth, we have the summer solstice, and we have the celebration of Pride Month. June is Pride Month, when the world's LGBTQ plus communities come together and celebrate the freedom to be themselves. Pride events welcome anyone who feels that like their sexual identity falls outside of the mainstream, although many straight people join in too. The original organizers chose this month to pay homage to the Stonewall Uprising in June of 1969 in New York City, which helped spark the modern gay rights movement. At the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living, we join with others all over the world in celebrating Pride Month. I came across this quote that really resonated with me. This is from A.J. Willingham of CNN. I've been thinking about the difference between tolerating and celebrating. When you tolerate someone, it's as if you are forcing yourself to acknowledge that they exist. But when you celebrate someone, you're letting them know that you actively appreciate their existence. They will bring something valuable to the world just by being them. Another quote, when all Americans are treated as equal, no matter who they are or whom they love, we are all more free. And I'll close this with a quote from that renowned philosopher, Dr. Seuss. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. If you place a regular bee in a clear water glass, it will go all the way around the glass trying to get out. It will go down to the bottom of the glass and try to get out. But it is very unlikely that it will ever go high enough to get out of the glass. If you place a buzzard in a 6x8 chicken wire fence, it will never leave. Ever since it was small, it has believed that it had to run for a minimum of 10 feet before it could get enough lift to fly, when in reality it could stand there and flap its wings and fly. Well, welcome. Welcome to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Thank you for coming out today. Those of you that are here in the house, it's good to see all of you, especially on this beautiful day. And thank you to those of you who are tuning in live, and thank you to those who will watch on YouTube later, particularly on this beautiful Memorial Day. I didn't forget Memorial Day when I listed the things in June, all the happenings. I wanted to leave Memorial Day kind of by itself, different from all of the other activities. I think we want to salute and celebrate and to acknowledge those who gave the ultimate price, those who paid the ultimate price for the freedom that we have today, the freedom to disagree, the freedom to be different than one another. And I just want to honor all of those men and women who gave their lives that we can be free today. Our monthly theme is Holy Boldness. I don't know how Erin could have known that when she picked the music. The title of my talk today is Where Does It Go? And I think sometimes people wonder, whatever happens to the money that I give to, ACSL? Is that funding Reverend Don's fishing trips to Naknek, or is that his new personal jet? I saw a minister in the lower 48 convinced his congregation he needed a new private jet. Well, I don't have a private jet. But we are going to go into where does it go today. And today, just to throw everybody off, I have 4 major points. Yep. My 4 points today: 1, I'm going to talk about abundance. Number 2, circulation. Then I'm going to do the piece on where does it go. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the prosperous flow. I'm going to borrow from Kaleem and use an acronym so I can remember what I'm talking about. We'll start off with abundance. And the dictionary definition of abundance is a very large quantity of something. And I really like that because it puts the concept of abundance in the subjectives. It's subject to your interpretation of what it is. If you are living in a 1,000 square foot apartment or house or whatever, and it's perfectly fine for you, it meets all your needs, it's wonderful, you love it, it's a great deal, and then all of a sudden you're put into a 2,000 square foot residence of some place, you might feel a little overwhelmed by how much space you have, how much more cleaning you have to do, whatever. On the other hand, if you are living in a 4,000 square foot area and you've got enough room to spread out all your goods, stuff, and then all of a sudden you're asked to be in a 2,000 square foot, you might feel really cramped. So this idea of abundance can be subjective. And it's where I'm going with all of this is that maybe it doesn't need to be subjective. That maybe abundance is something that's within us. I found this, and I loved it, and I don't think this is an approved academic source. What's something about the peach tree? Abundance is on the inside. It's a feeling first and an amount second. So even if the amount is enough, if you don't feel or enjoy it, then it will never feel abundant, which makes it really tricky to get your head around. Because abundance is on the inside, what is abundant to you might not be abundant to someone else. So you can't go to Google and Google to find out if your life experience is abundant. It's up for you to decide. And I think that's a real key point in terms of our abundance. Abundance is not a condition. It's not how big is your salary or how big is your house or how new is your car. It's a feeling. Abundance is the nature of the divine. The 2 ways that resonate with me, and that's one of the reasons I love Alaska so much. On a clear winter night in Alaska, when you get away from the lights of Anchorage and you lay down in the snow and look up at the stars-filled sky, that's abundance. And another thing that I feel about abundance, I've shared you with it before. I was out on a trout stream There were salmon in there. There's a little school of salmon over there. And I knew down behind the salmon there were a big rainbow. And so I'm casting for these rainbow. And I didn't catch it at first, but an enormous school of salmon came into this little pool. There were so many salmon in that little pool, they were bumping into my waders. They were so thick. And I looked across that pool. I swear, I thought you could walk across their back. And to me, that's abundance. So abundance is an inside thing, and it is not necessarily subjective. Point number 2 is circulation. The entire universe is based on circulation. The planets and the galaxies, all of the stars out there that have solar systems, and they have planets that are going around them. And you look up at that vast array of stars on that cold winter night, and we're looking up and see a lot of those pinpoints of light. They're not stars. That's an entire galaxy. And there are millions and millions and millions of entire galaxies. And they're all going around in perfect synchronicity. The blood, our very blood, circulates through our body. It carries oxygen and nutrients to the cells. And the cells use those to allow us to do things like stand up in front of people and talk. And then it takes the waste from that. Wait a minute. That doesn't sound right. But it exhales it in carbon dioxide. The water. We have clouds. Rain. Collect into rivers. Goes into the ocean. Evaporates. Becomes clouds. And it's a giant circulation. There is an organization, it is a company, I don't think it's privately owned anymore. It's called Barnhart Crane and Rigging. And they have cranes. 2 brothers inherited that when they were fairly young, and they decided right off the get-go that they were not going to use Barnhart Crane and Rigging to make their personal fortune. So what they did is they set themselves up so that their maximum take would be enough to make a reasonable middle-class income. They'd be able to meet their needs. They'd be able to put a bean on the table and a roof over their head. But they weren't going to have palaces with swimming pools and all kinds of fancy things, just normal everyday stuff. And they vowed what they were going to do. And the rest of what they had, they were going to give away. And that first year that they vowed to do that, they were able to give away $50,000. The next year, they were able to give away almost $1 million. And this was many years ago. They've stayed in that mode this entire time. I think they have retired now, and they have turned over management of the company to another group who do the business side of it and run the company. But all of the profits, all of the proceeds are distributed. And now they're giving away millions and millions every year. We have an example right here in our little center. A few years ago, Cynthia George, she's not really sleeping back there. She's holding the presents. Got a bee in her bonnet. I don't know how it all came to be, but she became aware that the kids in foster homes were going from foster home to foster home, and as what would happen is they'd take all their possessions and throw them into a big black garbage bag, and that's what they'd drag to the next foster home. And what a message that sends, that all of your earthly possessions belong in a garbage bag. So she decided that this center ought to do something about it. And so she organized a group for us to donate some suitcases for the kids down at Covenant House. And everybody was excited about, oh, it's a wonderful idea, Cynthia. And we were, we had kind of a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. Maybe we'll get 20 or 30 suitcases we could take down there. A couple weeks later, we delivered over 120 suitcases to Covenant House. The head guy down at Covenant House was astonished that a small center like this could do so much. But a big salute to Cynthia for identifying that need and for organizing us and getting us all singing from the same page and doing it. But the giving side of it is really only half of the idea of circulation. In order for there to be circulation, there has to be receiving as well. And I'll confess, I'm a good giver. I like giving. Not so good receiver. And that's an area that I constantly work on. I'm reminded of the story of a lady who had to scrape together everything that she could to get a ticket across the Atlantic from Europe to the United States. And she didn't have quite enough. Finally, a gentleman came and helped her, and he got her a ticket, and he got her on a boat, and she made it across. But it's a longer voyage, and she had very, very little money. She was able to get some bread before they left, and they had water available on the steamship. And so she spent this 3 weeks living off this very little amount of bread that she had taken all the way across. And as they neared New York, they were coming into the harbor at New York, she ran into somebody else, and the guy says, well, I haven't ever seen you around. She says, well, mostly I just stay down in the lower areas where my less expensive cabin is. And he said, well, what have you been eating and stuff? And she said, well, I've eaten this bread for the last 3 weeks. He said, let me check your ticket. She showed him his ticket, and he said, ma'am, you have full access to the dining car, including the buffet. And sometimes we're a lot like that lady. We don't accept what is already there. We don't accept the free pass to the dining facility in our lives. We think that it isn't part of our ticket. So, third point, where does it go? I classify it as the 4 M's plus. And the 4 M's are music, minister, mortgage, miscellaneous, plus, and that's our tithing. And just being totally transparent, our music is about $1,200 a month. Minister, that's me. My personal jet payment is $2,200 a month. The mortgage, we obviously don't have a mortgage. We have a rent. And that's, I want to explain a little bit about that. People have often said, how in the world do you afford this whole place, when you've only got 30 people a Sunday coming here? Here's the story. When the pandemic hit, of course, we had nobody here. And if you were to look at our income statements and you were to look at where our donations came from, our single largest donor is anonymous cash. It's people just throwing a 20 or a 10, or we accept all denominations in the basket, each Sunday. Well, without any people, your largest donor is gone. So the leadership council met, and we decided we needed to buck up our courage and go talk to the owner's representative. And so I was ready to do that. But Tiffany kind of sidetracked me, and she said, instead of just going out and saying, hey, what can you do for us? Why don't you go to him and say, here's what we can do? And so I said, that's a good idea. So we met with Sean, and I told him, this is where we're at, and this is what we can do. And he said, I'll see. Now, we are very, very fortunate here because the person that owns these buildings, CarQuest and the restaurant and Dino's and us, owns the building. He doesn't have a bank payment to make every month. But when they came back to me, the owner's representative came back to me, he said, I represent, hundreds and hundreds of businesses in this town. And every one of them all came to me at the same time with the same thing. What can you do for me? You are the only person that came to me and said, this is what I can do. So he went to the owner, and the owner more than cut our rent in half. We went from $6,700 a month to $3,200 a month. At $3,280, something like that. But at $3,250, we'll call it, a month. So in terms of square footage, we went from what at that time was a pretty attractive deal, about $1.15 a square foot, down to 58 cents a square foot. So we are getting a smoking deal, but it's kind of based on taking this whole thing. But this gives us, don't you understand, an opportunity to continue our mission statement, to further our mission statement, and to do good for others at the same time. Because at this time now, this space is the home to 5 self-help groups, 12-step groups, meeting almost every night of the week. We are home to a school, the Socratic Focus Studies Group, who are, they're fully blessed by the Anchorage School District. They're an outstanding education. They teach no theology. They don't do anything. What they do is they help a wide range of kids, and they help a lot of people, and we're able to support that endeavor as well. So if we take that $32.50 a month rent that we pay, and in our accounting system we lump in janitorial and utilities in that too. So we've got almost $1,000 a month Chugach bill now. Electricity's going up. We have N-Star bill that is constantly raising as well, and we've cut our cleaners back from once a week now to twice a month. And people are good. Our congregants are good. We take pretty good care of this place. And if we have our, spring cleanup delayed to summer, our July spring cleanup, we're okay. We are good stewards with your money, but that all comes to a little over $6,000 a month. And then we have the fourth bucket of M's, I call it miscellaneous, and that's Jennifer, copier, the phone, internet, all of the other daily goings on things, and that comes to about $2,500 a month. So you see, it costs us about $12,000 a month, and it varies. It goes everywhere from $11,000 to $14,000 a month, but it costs us about $12,000. And then the rest of that is, of course, includes our tithes, and our tithes. You saw we're given about $450, and that's a pretty good average. It's about $450 a month to the local nonprofit, and about double that, about another $900 to the home office. So the tithes, they average anywhere between $1,100 to $1,300 or $1,400. So for a total expense of around, we'll call it $12,000 a month to basically to run the place. On the other side of it, the donations that we have that come in are about $9,000. So we're kind of losing every month. Now we have a really strong bank account. We've got about $250,000 in our bank account, but about $120,000 of that is the building fund, and we can't touch it. But the rest of it, we have spread out among CDs and things that'll earn a little bit better interest, and we're doing with it. We have been blessed with some very generous donations. We have some congregants who have been wonderful about supporting us, about really taking this whole thing and taking it across the goal line for us. And then, we usually get a good bump in October when we have permanent fund dividend. We get another good bump, Thanksgiving, people give more Thanksgiving. And then Christmas, we usually get a little bit around there, as some of our more mature members have minimum required distributions. So that's how we stay afloat and what we do. Just about every cent of all that I just enumerated goes toward our mission of spiritual transformation. Whether it's through a 12-step group, whether it's through inspirational music that opens your heart on a Sunday. That is really hard, having to follow Jessica. God gave that woman a magnificent voice. Thank you for sharing it with us. Anyway, I can see I'm talking way too long. Point number 4 is the prosperous flow, and FLOW. F, in order to step into this giving, needs to be F, freely. That means no strings or conditions. And you don't give for recognition, and you don't give out of a sense of obligation, or we're not here to tell you, you're required to give us so much or anything like that. We do invite you to step into that, because this circulation thing works. And when you give, you receive. Urge you not to be like the bee and never look up, or the buzzard and think that you have to run across the finish line before you can lift off and get up. You can do that just by giving. In 2014, we got a call from FISH. It's an organization called Fellowship in Serving Humanity, and they help feed the poor, the people that don't have any food. Wonderful outfit, and they are good at it. Boy, they've got a small house out behind St. Mary's, and they've got those shells, and they're quite the group. Well, they called and asked if we could help And I said, sure, I'll bring it up to the congregation and, give us a couple weeks to collect it. And, oh, that'd be wonderful, anything you could do. And they said they needed mac and cheese and, anybody else remember what else it was? Peanut butter. So we put a big box in the back, and everybody brought their stuff in, and 2 weeks went by, and they called and said, "Have you got it?" We said, "Yeah, come on by." And so these ladies showed up, and they had a little Subaru. And she walked in the door, and she looked over, and she said, "Oh, my, we can't carry that much." This is the letter that I got. Dear Reverend Don and friends, many, many thanks for your huge donation of much-needed food for the needy that we serve. I was overwhelmed when I saw the amount that you collected. 203 boxes of macaroni and cheese, 123 cans of fruit, a 3-pound sausage, and many other items. Fish is run entirely by volunteers and is supported only by donations. Money we receive is used to purchase food from the food bank, Costco, and other sources. Mac and cheese, even in bulk, is relatively expensive, which is why I ask for that. And fruit for the children is another scarce commodity. We receive about 60 calls per week from people who are in need. A total of 75 volunteers receive the calls, pack the bags of food, and deliver them. We are really getting low on our provisions, and your donation is very welcome. May you be richly blessed for your generosity. We don't have the ability to do all of the things that we want to do. We don't have the ability to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to do all of the things of good that we would like to do. And it's not our mission. Our mission is teaching spiritual transformation. But in our process, our practice of giving, we do give, we support those whose mission is feeding the hungry and clothing the naked and doing all of the other things. And so at least 10 different organizations a year, and very, very seldom do we have a duplicate, 10 different organizations a year for at least the last, 15 years, get a tithe from us. And some of these organizations, out of the blue, they get a check for $500. They are ecstatic, and it helps them achieve that mission, their mission. So it's a win-win-win. No. A lot of those things aren't our mission, but we believe in the good of what they do. And in that circulation, we seem to come out ahead every time. So we give freely. L, lovingly. Give from a sense of joy. I remember Reverend Nancy paying her bills, and she'd write her check, and it'd come to the Chugach bill, and she'd just give thanks for having electric lights and having all the things that electricity does for us, and she'd be so grateful when she wrote that check. And the next check would be to N-Star, and she'd be so thankful that she's in this warm house in this cold Alaskan winter. She expressed her gratitude with each and everything. She lovingly paid all of her bills. Oh, ongoingly. I know that's not a word, I don't think. But I needed an O, and I needed something for consistent. I couldn't have a flickwa. Nobody remember flickwa, but they'll remember flow. So ongoingly, consistent, not intermittently. And I urge you to step into this practice on an ongoing basis. I talked to a lady this morning, and she said, I'm so grateful, because I'm out of town so much, and I do all these other things, but my donation is there every week, and I know it, and I am grateful. And W, wisely, be a philanthropist for life. The great teachers have taught that our most important job is to give back to spirit. Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, what we do with all of our resources, talents, skills, money, is made sacred or profane by the consciousness in which we use it. If we dedicate our life, resources, and talents to the Spirit, they are made sacred and become a love offering to life itself. Or Lao Tzu, he who obtains has little. He who scatters has much. And from the Hebrew Scriptures, one man gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another man withholds and suffers want. So what I want you to take away today, and we're right up to noon, and you want to get out on this beautiful Memorial Day, I want you to consider supporting ACSL financially. And I know that most of you in this room do, but many of you online do not. And I invite you to step into this process of generosity and giving. And I don't know if we still have the QR code. If we could put that up, or if we can get it in the chat room, it's really easy. Somebody's waving at me.
I'm in the chat.
It's in the chat room. If you're there, all you have to do is click on it, and it's really easy to make a donation, and you can even make it recurring. So I invite you to do that. And so with all of this,
Can you move over and stand over there? We lost podium camera. Just stand right there. That way people online can see you.
people online can see me.
A little more. Keep going.
Get in front of the candle.
One little bit more.
Oh.
There you go. Can you just do the rest of your service from there?
I can do the rest of the service from here, because at this moment, I think it's important that we go into prayer. I think that in this moment, it is good to recognize that there is a magnificent power in the universe, one infinite power. The nature of this power is one of abundance and prosperity. It is one of health. God has never been sick. It is one of love. We are all born of love. And so as I speak my word this moment, I speak my word for all of those who are feeling lack and limitation. They feel that there is more month than there is paycheck, that there is not enough to go around. Simply know that the universe in which we live is an abundant universe. And that if we can only step out of the way, we can rise above the top of the glass. We can jump over the fence. We can fly. And for those who are feeling separation from God or separation from one another, would you simply recognize that the nature of that infinite creative force, the thing that made the heavens, that made all those salmon, that infinite creative force is a force of love. It is our nature. And even though there are conditions that may appear to be different, may appear to have differences of opinion, that behind all of that, we are beings of love. Love for one another. Love for that infinite creative force. So we just give thanks. We give thanks for our awareness of that presence in our lives. And we just step back and we allow that divine presence to guide us and to help us as we go through life. We give thanks, and then we just let it go. We let it be. And so it is. Amen. Well, I have to run further over here. And you're back at the small font. Okay, this is a time in our service where we are afforded the opportunity to participate in the law of circulation. This is a time for you to step into all that I've been talking about for the last hour. I apologize for being so long-winded. That's the first time I've run over in a long time.
It was a good talk.
Well, thank you. And just so everybody knows, we do have coffee next door if you need a jolt of something to get you awake before you get behind the wheel. And we have acknowledged some of the people that are online with us today. We have Chris, I presume that's New Jersey Chris, Kaleem, Dana, Loanne, grandmother of Levi, Barbara, Suzanne, let's see, Joy Lovejoy, Jennifer Picnic, Jennifer LaPlante, and Michelle.
Wow.
We've got multiple Michelles. Well, we always have multiple Michelles. We got 2 Michelles here and 1 online. We've got an abundance of Michelles. I am so blessed. Let's get into this and get the old affirmation done. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you.